Can you imagine the kind of fate that chases you not with failure, but with a relentless, brutal tragedy? The history of American music is stained with sudden, violent endings. We remember the plane crash that silenced Lynyrd Skynyrd, the heartbreak when Otis Redding's plane went down. But there is one band, a crucible of funk and soul, whose story is so marked by unbelievable misfortune that it has become an epitaph for resilience itself, Heatwave. They gave us the eternal promise of always and forever, a slow jam woven into the fabric of Black American romance. At the heart of that sound was Johnnie Wilder, a man from Dayton, Ohio, whose powerful falsetto could soar above the funkiest groove. He was the energy on stage, a former athlete who danced and flipped and dared you to look away. But beneath the platinum success of Boogie Nights and The Groove Line, a darkness gathered. It began with a murder, followed by a shocking attack, and then, the unforgivable, blinding silence of fate. In 1979, the music stopped, not with a whimper, but with the screech of steel. A catastrophic car crash left Johnnie, the heart and soul of the band, AC4 quadriplegic. His neck was broken, his body was paralyzed from the neck down. Doctors gave him days, maybe a week, to live. The cruelest irony? He could no longer move, but he could still sing. This is the story of Heatwave and a man who proved that dignity and the power of the soul need no applause, and the voice will always fly higher than the body. Johnnie Wilder Jr. was born on July 3, 1949, in Dayton, Ohio. To those who know the history of soul and funk, Ohio is not just a place on a map, it is a musical crucible, the home of groups like the Ohio Players and Zapp. Johnnie's childhood was steeped in this legacy. He was the oldest of 5 children, and the sounds he first heard came not from the church choir, but from the sophisticated swing of jazz. His father, Johnnie Wilder Sr., owned a local club and had a singing voice of his own. This environment meant music was less a dream and more an essential language of the household. The Wilder family made immense sacrifices to ensure a strong foundation. Johnnie and his brother Keith were sent to an all-boys Catholic school, their mother, Lucille, working at the school to pay the tuition. It was here the brothers first tasted the spotlight, becoming wildly popular for their singing and dancing talents and winning several awards. But for Johnnie Wilder, music was only half the ambition. His discipline was fueled by a fierce, almost militaristic drive. After graduating high school, he attended Central State University, not only studying music but also majoring in math and minoring in gymnastics. His ultimate goal was ambitious and far removed from the stage, to compete in the U.S. Olympics. This commitment to physical mastery would later define his dynamic, acrobat-like presence on stage. In 1969, following his graduation, Johnnie married his high school sweetheart, Roslyn. When she enlisted in the army, he joined too, demonstrating a deep commitment that prioritized being near her. They were stationed in West Germany, an unlikely staging ground for a future funk sensation. Even while serving, the discipline of music remained. Johnnie performed with local bands, the Kashmir, the Soul Sessions, and the Noblemen, to entertain the soldiers on base. When his military discharge came, he chose to stay in Germany, and with his wife, they welcomed a baby girl. It was here, thousands of miles from the funk centers of Ohio and the soul hubs of the U.S., that the genesis of Heatwave began. Johnnie formed a group called Johnnie Wilder and the Chicago Heatwave. The initial lineup was a true reflection of the global nature of their origins. Jesse Witten, guitarist from Chicago, Mario Mantis, bassist from Switzerland, and Ernest Berger, drummer from Czechoslovakia. But the true Heatwave story, the one that would reshape R&B forever, hinged on a classified ad in a German newspaper. It was through this simple ad that Johnnie Wilder found Rod Temperton, a keyboardist and songwriter. The synergy was instant. Temperton was a studio genius who, as fate would have it, would later write some of the biggest songs in music history, including hits for Michael Jackson like Thriller and Rock With You. Finding Rod Temperton was the moment the band hit the jackpot. Drawing on his background, Johnnie Wilder ran the new, multiracial group with the strict order of a military drill sergeant. He was the undisputed leader, setting rules that demanded professional excellence. As they dominated the gig circuit across Germany, Johnnie realized their potential was too big for military bases and local clubs. The next logical move was a gamble, but one necessary for global success. He relocated the entire operation to London for a better record deal opportunity. London proved to be the right pivot. Heatwave quickly became a sensation on the local circuit, becoming so hot that they landed a major deal with GTO Records. At the time, the label housed disco queen Donna Summer and Billy Ocean, positioning Heatwave among the elite. The name was shortened to simply Heatwave, and with producer Barry Blue, the history-making began. The stage was set. The discipline of the military, the ambition of an Olympian, and the genius of Rod Temperton were finally fused, ready to unleash the funk and soul explosion they had been rehearsing for. The relentless, funky sound of Heatwave often masked the growing darkness behind the scenes. Just as the band solidified its place among the greats, the tragedies began, striking the band members one by one. In 1977, the first cruel blow landed. Guitarist Jesse Witten traveled back to Chicago to visit his family for Christmas. While home, he was tragically stabbed to death. The loss was devastating, but the show, as it must, went on. Johnnie Wilder quickly brought in his younger brother, Keith Wilder, who was already making a name for himself in Ohio, to fill the void. The band barely had time to recover before the second, even more shocking incident occurred right before Christmas in 1978. Bassist Mario Mantis and his girlfriend were at a party hosted by Elton John in London. An argument erupted, and after they returned home, Mario's girlfriend, who was in the kitchen, stabbed him right in the heart with a knife. Mario was rushed to the hospital, where his heart stopped beating for a terrifying 6 minutes. This lack of oxygen caused a blood clot to travel to his brain. He spent 5 weeks in a coma. When Mario finally woke up, he was blind, mute, and paralyzed. He had to relearn how to walk and talk all over again, and he could never play or sing with the group again. Years later, Mario, having regained his eyesight and made a remarkable spiritual recovery, stated that even to this day, he doesn't remember anything from that tragic incident. But the greatest challenge, the one that broke the spirit of many, was reserved for the group's dynamic leader. On February 29, 1979, while the band was in a break from recording their third album, Johnnie Wilder decided to visit his family back in his hometown of Ohio. It was supposed to be a relaxing moment, a brief reset. He took his wife's 12-year-old brother out for music lessons. The music never finished. Suddenly, a van ran a stop sign and broadside their car, knocking it over the curb, through a fence, and into a tree. The driver of the van died the next day. Johnnie Wilder sustained catastrophic injuries, his neck was broken, and his spinal cord was severed. The man who moved with the grace of a gymnast and the energy of a lightning bolt was instantly rendered a C4 quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down, never to walk or dance again. Doctors initially gave the life force that powered Heatwave barely a week to live. He spent an entire year in the hospital. The shock, the sudden loss of every physical capability, pushed him into deep depression, and he admitted he wanted to die. The cruel reality was that success, fame, and a multi-platinum career meant nothing when the body failed. The only thing that saved him, the only thing that could still fly, was his voice. Meanwhile, the universe seemed to mock the opportunities Johnnie Wilder had missed. Rod Temperton, the genius songwriter who had long since left the touring life, was now working closely with Quincy Jones, free to write hits for the greatest pop star in the world. As Johnnie fought for his life and mental clarity, the songs he had once turned down, like Rock With You and Off the Wall, were skyrocketing Michael Jackson to fame. It was a tough lesson on fate and choice, but Johnnie focused on his only remaining asset, mastering his singing while sitting completely still. The band's heart was permanently wounded, but against all odds, the music of Heatwave was not yet silenced. After emerging from the hospital, defying the death sentence given by doctors, Johnnie Wilder redefined his role in Heatwave. Though his dancing days were over, his status as the group's boss remained absolute. He shifted his energy from the physical stage to the business and creative studio, still laying down vocals for the group's third album, Hot Property, 1979, which achieved certified gold status. The world watched a man transformed, a C4 quadriplegic whose spirit refused to be contained by a wheelchair that was, ironically, equipped with advanced technology for the time. This profound, visible struggle established Johnnie Wilder as a towering symbol of resilience within the R&B community. His journey created a crucial, empathetic link when R&B singer Teddy Pendergrass suffered a near-fatal car accident in 1982 that also left him paralyzed. Teddy's record label reached out to Johnnie, knowing he was the only one who truly understood the devastating mental anguish and near-suicidal despair Teddy was experiencing. Johnnie became a critical lifeline, sharing his experience and guiding Teddy through his darkest time. Teddy Pendergrass later acknowledged the deep friendship and help he received from Johnnie in his own book. Meanwhile, the shadow of Rod Temperton's genius continued to loom large, connecting the origins of Heatwave directly to the center of global pop culture. While Johnnie was mastering his life as a paralyzed artist, Rod was busy writing the album Thriller for Michael Jackson, the best-selling album of all time. Rod's work on Lady in My Life further solidified his position, demonstrating the profound musical legacy that branched directly from the modest beginnings of Heatwave in Germany. Even after the label dropped them in 1982, Johnnie Wilder pivoted again. He returned to his roots in Ohio, not as a broken star, but as a mentor, teaching students about the harsh realities and enduring spiritual values of the music industry at Central State University in 1994. He also released two deeply spiritual and beautiful solo a cappella albums, My Gold, 1988, and One More Day, 1996. Through these acts, Johnnie Wilder proved that the power of his voice, the true heart of Heatwave, remained always and forever present, reaching audiences not just through chart hits, but through pure, spiritual sound. Some stories end without closure, yet they leave behind a wisdom that transcends tragedy. The story of Johnnie Wilder and Heatwave is not about what was lost, the years, the Olympic dreams, the physical freedom, or the pop crossover hits he denied Rod Temperton. It is fundamentally a testament to what cannot be broken, the integrity of a man and the sanctity of his gift. In May 2006, Johnnie Wilder passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 56. It is impossible for fans of funk and soul not to ask, what if? What if the accident on that Ohio street had never happened? What heights would Heatwave have reached with Johnnie's magnetic stage presence and that magnificent voice? We can only mourn the potential, but we must celebrate the spirit that refused to surrender its dignity. Johnnie left behind the greatest kind of legacy. He showed the world that a true artist is defined not by their ability to move, but by their ability to feel and communicate that feeling. From the confinement of a wheelchair, this C4 quadriplegic continued to sing, produce, and mentor. He turned his broken body into a profound symbol of survival, offering light to others like Teddy Pendergrass who faced similar despair. And so, the greatest inheritance Johnnie Wilder gave us is the enduring promise of his biggest hit. Always and Forever is more than a wedding song, it is his pledge of fidelity to his art, a sacred bond that endured murder, violence, and paralysis. If this story reminds you of the profound power of music to heal, or of an underrated artist who deserved more, perhaps someone whose sound changed your own life, please share their name and memory in the comments below. Let us ensure that the legacy of Heatwave and Johnnie Wilder, the man with the voice that soared, remains always and forever in our hearts. EIR% 20 Destiny.